Good afternoon. If you start settling down, we'll start. Unfortunately, we have a very rich and full program, and time is of essence. And I have this duty and responsibility reminding you about time, so we can start. Judith. I think we have a video message from the SG. A video message from the SG, yeah. Yeah.
Your Excellency, Mr. Antonio Pedro, Deputy Executive Secretary of the Economic Commission for Africa, dear friend, Your Excellency, Dr. Monique Sansabaganwa, Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission. Really, to both of you, thank you for your leadership and for supporting this event today. So, Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear friends, it is an honor to address all of you gathered today in Addis Ababa, thanks to the support of our friends at the African Union and the UN Economic Commission for Africa. The UN Trade and Development 60th anniversary celebrations are only a few days away, and the subject of critical minerals and sustainable development could not be more pertinent. So, 60 years ago, the UN Conference on Trade and Development was established to address the global demand for a fairer economic system. Since then, we have been a cornerstone in promoting inclusive and sustainable economic growth worldwide to ensure that globalization benefits all, and to empower developing nations to draw their own maps towards prosperity. Today, the world struggles with unprecedented challenges, and UNCTAD's mission remains as vital as ever. Climate change, conflict, economic fragmentation, and low growth, burdening debt, and weak trade and investment threatens to unravel decades of progress. These moments of adversity put us to the test. We must reaffirm our commitment to multilateralism, to cooperation, and to a shared vision of the world. This is what UNCTAD 60 is all about. We build on our legacy to face the future head on and generate new answers to the burning questions of our time. Dear friends, Africa stands at the forefront of both challenges and opportunities. This is true especially when it comes to climate change. Africa only contributes 4% to global greenhouse gas emissions, but bears the heaviest burden of the climate disaster. Yet, Africa also holds the key to a sustainable energy future and for the energy transition, powered by the critical minerals beneath its soil. Cobalt, manganese, graphite, lithium are not just elements on the periodic table. They can be the building blocks of a new era, powering our houses, driving our vehicles and connecting our world, catalyzing a green revolution that can lift millions out of poverty and create a fairer world. But to realize this vision, we must break free from the past. We must reject the extractive model that has kept resource-rich nations dependent and poor. Instead, we must embrace a new paradigm that prioritizes domestic value addition, fosters regional integration, and empowers local communities. The African Continental Free Trade Area and intra-African supply chains can lay the groundwork for this transformation and are a huge opportunity. To envision an Africa that not only exports raw cobalt, but also becomes a hub for cutting-edge battery manufacturing. An Africa that doesn't just ship manganese, but forges steel for resilient infrastructure. An Africa that transforms phosphate rock into fertilizers to nourish its agricultural potential, ensuring food security and prosperity for generations. This is an Africa that is economically diversified, structurally resilient, inclusive, and sustainable. This vision of Africa requires addressing the inequities in the resource sector. We need fair and transparent mining contracts to ensure that Africans benefit from their natural wealth. These agreements must be environmentally safe and allow economic diversification. Policies must link large-scale mining with local industries, while strong resource management systems are essential to prevent depletion as technology advances. Your Excellencies, UN Trade and Development is proud to support Africa. Africa is the top recipient of our technical cooperation programs, from port customs, automatization, and informal cross-border trade to debt management, from building productive capacities and leveraging the African Continental Free Trade Area and digital economy. Today's event highlights our commitment to providing cutting-edge research and technical support on critical minerals, including our active involvement in the UN Secretary-General's panel on critical energy transition minerals. As we look ahead, let's embrace this spirit of innovation, collaboration, and determination that has defined UNCTAD's work for the past 60 years. Let's build on the lessons learned, adapt to today's challenges, and seize new opportunities. Together, we can ensure Africa's mineral wealth drives transformation, inclusive growth, and a brighter future. This is our shared vision, common purpose, and our pledge to the people of Africa. I thank you.
Thank you very much, the Secretary General of UNCTAD, for setting the tone in a way, in a very passionate way, and emphasizing two issues: diversification and value addition. Now we hear from the Deputy Executive Secretary of the ECA, Mr. Antonio Pedro. You have the floor, sir.
Your Excellencies, good afternoon. Ms. Rebecca Greenspan, Secretary General of UN Trade and Development, UNCTAD, Dr. Monique Sanza Baganawa, Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start first by congratulating UNCTAD for its 60th anniversary. We are very pleased to co-host this event today, focused on leveraging demand for critical minerals to boost inclusive growth and sustained development in Africa. Our discussion today underscores the important role of minerals in driving sustained development, a message that African countries have been championing for years. The African Mining Vision, adopted by the African Union Heads of State and Government in 2009, enshrined the region's aspirations for job creation, value addition, and resource-driven industrialization, anchored on responsible governance and an inclusive use of mineral resources for broad-based development. It is vital that frameworks such as the African Mining Vision are harnessed as countries navigate the current critical energy transition and minerals boom. Whilst estimates vary, for the world to transition to renewable energy production and storage and achieve the sustained development goals, we will collectively need up to a 6-fold increase in lithium and graphite, 3-fold increase in cobalt, doubling in nickel and other minerals by 2035, with even greater increases in the longer term. Meanwhile, Africa, as we know, holds up to 1/3 of global mineral reserves and already produces over 70% of the world's cobalt, 55% of manganese, nearly 25% of its bauxite, 15% of its copper, and a host of other minerals. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a key priority amidst this was clearly expressed by Secretary General Antonio Guterres at the launch of his panel on critical energy transition minerals that the Secretary General of UNCTAD has just mentioned in April, where he called for more justice and equality in the global energy transition and the drive towards sustained development. The Secretary General was explicit that an energy transition that is not just and a mining boom that does not deliver benefits for everyone across our society will leave us back at square one. Driven by this call for justice, the panel convened by the Secretary General brings together governments, business, and civil society to develop a set of voluntary global principles to guide the critical energy transition minerals boom. Importantly, initiatives like this put mineral production countries in the driver's seat, focusing on issues such as value chain development, industrialization, inclusion of local and indigenous communities, and environmental protection. Again, as reflected in the African Mining Vision, African countries have been prioritizing these issues for some time. And it is welcome news that the world has now recognized and is echoing our views. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, ECA is supporting member states to realize their ambitions in resource-based economic transformation, including through a flagship regional battery and electric vehicle value chain initiative. We have partnered with the Africa Export-Import Bank, or Afrexim Bank, the African Minerals Development Center, the African Development Bank, BADEA, the African Finance Corporation, the African Legal Support Facility, and others to support countries in progressing from mining to mineral processing, to battery component fabrication, and eventually to producing battery packs and ultimately electric vehicles, positioning our member states to tap into a market that is estimated to reach $60 trillion by 2050. A landmark memorandum of understanding was signed between the DRC and Zambia to promote this value addition, and a pre-feasibility study on the transboundary special economic zone is currently being validated in both countries. This initiative speaks to the seriousness of African countries in deepening their participation in global value chains, thus breaking their excessive dependence on the export of raw materials. The African Continental Free Trade Area serves as a catalyst for these transitions, strengthening business fundamentals and facilitating cross-border cooperation. The potential here is immense, and we must not stop at just minerals and batteries alone. For example, Morocco is now the largest African exporter of cars to the European Union and has been record investment in the automotive sector in South Africa of late as well. Imagine the potential if African minerals are processed into African batteries, installed into African cars that are driven across the continent and the world. This would accelerate the deployment of renewable energy and the electrification of transport systems on the continent, create decent jobs, and make Africa a competitive hub for green industrialization. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we hope today's discussions reflect on the region's experience with industrialization and mining, and that we continue to build a regional approach to this issue. Countries have recently discussed the draft Africa Green Mineral Strategy, which will give us the tools to implement a unified vision, build constructive policies, and ensure that our mining communities benefit meaningfully from their resources. Africa has been a leader in the discourse on mineral-based development, and it is now time to match our rhetoric with action. I would like to once again thank our partners at UNCTAD and wish you a fruitful afternoon of deliberations. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for the insightful presentation. Incidentally, I'm informed that interpretation kits are available at the back for those who may need them. Now I have the pleasure to invite the Deputy Chairperson of Africa Union Commission, Dr. Monique Nsanzaganwa. I've been practicing, but still got it wrong. I'm sorry about that.
Sorry, my name is giving you a hard time. I tried. You missed one syllable. Nsanzabaganwa is my name. Yeah, but the SG managed very well, and you, Pedro. So, good afternoon, Your Excellencies. My dear sister Rebecca, we followed your message, very powerful. My dear brother Pedro, Antonio Pedro, Diane, you're the face of UNCTAD here in Addis. Your Excellencies, ambassadors, and members of the diplomatic community, all protocol observed. Good afternoon. It's a real pleasure and honor for me to address this meeting to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD. To all of us gathered here and those online around the world, I wish you a joyful anniversary. My sincere thanks to the organizers of this event for the invitation conveyed to the African Union Commission. This is yet proof of your leadership and commitment to work for Africa's accelerated transformation in the global stage. Your Excellencies, The celebration of this 60th anniversary here in Addis Ababa offers an opportunity to reflect on the achievements of UNCTAD in support of African countries, including in terms of their active participation in global trade, in pursuit of economic prosperity and development, by providing the necessary evidence-based data and technical assistance to deal with the challenges of globalization, to harness trade, investment, finance, and technology as key drivers for inclusive growth and sustainable development. Africa has demonstrated commitment to this transformative process. In 2013, for instance, the African Union adopted a long-term strategy, Agenda 2063, which, among other goals, aspires to build a united, peaceful, and prosperous Africa. In addition, Africa committed to achieving other global goals, including the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the 2015 Paris Agreement on Climate Change. To help achieve these goals, the African Development Bank Group also identified 5 core priority areas called the High Fives. And the first 10-year implementation plan of Agenda 2063 and the goals of SDGs anticipated that by 2023, African economies would be transformed, inclusive and sustainable, with 7% GDP growth annually. Regrettably, most African countries are not on track to achieve the SDGs and also to achieve the Agenda 2063. For 2024 and 2025, for instance, Africa's gross domestic product is expected to average 3.8% and 4.2% increase respectively, which, although positive, is still below the pre-pandemic average of 5% and definitely below the target of 7%. And our aim for the second 10-year implementation plan is to hit actually double digits growth rates if we are to make up for the gap that has been created so far, and also what we expect to achieve over the second 10 years. Growth prospects remain very volatile due to factors such as climate change, has been mentioned, global financial crisis, and geopolitical tensions. Our session today, organized under the inspiring and forward-looking theme, that is, maximizing Africa's potential, leveraging demand for critical minerals to boost inclusive growth and sustainable development, is therefore timely and opportune. It offers the unique opportunity to collectively harness our wisdom to reflect on what has worked and what needs to be improved to lead Africa to greater economic heights. Your Excellencies, it's been said that Africa is blessed with enormous natural capital, including the so-called critical minerals. And among others, we heard from Pedro in a few minutes back, all of those numbers, the potential in terms of percentage compared to global volumes. We know that our continent concentrates a third of the world's total green mineral reserves. We know that with the large reserves of cobalt, copper, platinum, lithium, graphite, and uranium, and 40% of gold and diamonds, it is home of 7.2% of proven global oil reserves, 6.9% of proven global gas reserves, and 65% of the world's uncultivated arable land, just to supplement some hard facts to the points that have been made earlier. So looking at this potential, it is undeniable that Africa offers indeed compelling opportunities to achieve inclusive growth and sustainable development in the years to come. It should have done that in the past. In fact, we know that the future of energy transition depends on Africa. My sister Rebecca made that point very strongly. And achieving all these goals, however, requires a different and a strategic approach to policy making to position the continent as a new global growth pole. Beyond the policy mix, we know as well that this requires a fair international structure and system, especially in terms of regulations and rules related to this sector. For instance, we know that some of the rules, including those in the making, are threatening to affect the efforts that countries are putting to increase, enhance beneficiation and value addition on the continent. It wouldn't make sense to actually not trust our continental certification systems and have, if we are to trade among ourselves, our minerals go hit another certification system just to come back to us for value addition or trade. So a lot needs to be done indeed to challenge all these systems. So against this background, the African Union Commission, the African Union Development Agency, AUDA, NEPAD, the African Development Bank, all three have commissioned a high-level technical team to undertake a study on the key actions to drive inclusive growth and sustainable development in Africa. This strategic framework is aimed at bringing coherence and harmonization in various thematic areas such as human capital development and utilization, integrated productive infrastructure development, financing for inclusive growth and sustainable development, and external drivers of growth, among many. We look forward as the strategic framework will be unveiled in February 2025 to work closely with UNCTAD to support our member states in the effective implementation of the key actions that will have been identified. At this transformative path towards growth and development through critical mineral industrialization process requires massive investments. Allow me to commend UNCTAD's support for a fair, transparent, and inclusive international taxation system. We firmly believe that the reform of the international taxation system at the United Nations will provide an opportunity to our countries to mobilize and channel more domestic resources to productive transformation. The mobilization of domestic resources requires that at the continental level, we continue providing support to our member states to strengthen their tax administrations and effectively fight against illicit financial flows that deprive the continent of approximately $89 billion every year. On this note, I thank you for your kind attention and wish you once again a happy 60th anniversary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. Thank you very much. This completes the opening remarks. And now we move to the panel discussion. And in a minute, I will ask my friend Clovis from UNCTAD to do a short presentation before we have the panel discussion. But let me now, at this point, introduce myself. My name is Tafare Tesfacho, and really would like to thank UNCTAD and ECA for inviting me to moderate this a very important event. Critical minerals gives us in Africa second opportunity to either learning from our experience or mistakes, in whatever way we see it, to start doing better, gaining better, and especially value addition and diversification. UNCTAD started in 1964 on this topic. The first Secretary General, Prebisch, an economist from Argentina, his point was that many countries, including newly independent African countries, are exporting raw material, importing manufacturing, in terms of trade issue. And what started UNCTAD and the link between trade and development is a need to process, the need to add value, the need to move out of exporting raw materials, value-added products. This is another opportunity we have. So in that respect, it's a very critical topic we are addressing. And I will let Clovis do the presentation, but the questions I will pose to the panelists will revolve around this issue of value addition. Very, very important. And if we don't address that issue, at the moment, slightly above 60% of what we export from Africa is in raw material form. I think moving forward in the future, especially with these critical minerals, we have to do better. So if we are ready for Clovis' short presentation, and then I will invite the panel members to come and join me.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, my colleague, Tess. My name is Clovis Freire. I'm the Chief of Commodity Research and Analysis Section at UNCTAD. It will be a brief presentation where we'll talk about how Africa can leverage this demand for critical minerals to boost inclusive growth and sustainable development. As mentioned before, these are called critical minerals because they are critical for the energy transition. So they are critical for us to produce solar panels, electricity networks, electric vehicles and batteries, and that is showing in orange there. And these minerals are, for example, copper, cobalt, nickel, lithium, rare earths, and so on. And the pattern that we see is that the demand for these critical energy transition minerals are growing much faster than what to expect to the supply for these minerals to increase. To start a production of these minerals, you have to have a mine that takes time, 10 years to be in operation and so on. And the demand for these energy transition technologies for us to be able to tackle climate change requires a lot of these minerals. And Africa, as mentioned before, has a large share of these minerals that would be used for energy transition. Here showing two of them, cobalt, manganese, that were mentioned before here. So what are the issues then? Why is this important? As mentioned as well, the importance is that we still have commodity dependence is a big problem for developing countries. Out of 195 countries that are member of the United Nations of UNCTAD, 95 are commodity dependent developing countries. And you see in this map, all these countries that are colored there are countries that are commodity dependent, meaning that over 60% of their exports are primary products. And you see Africa is full of countries that are commodity dependent, either on agriculture, mining, on energy. And the risk is that with this new demand for critical energy transition minerals, we start with a dependence on one more commodity now. And another important point that we have to take in consideration is that if we look at the past technological revolutions, since Industrial Revolution, every of technological revolution only increase the gap between developed countries, country in the core of the trade system, and the periphery, every other country. So if now we are talking about, it's not an issue of minerals, we are talking about the transition, the technological transition, digital and green. So for countries to be able to take advantage of this transition and not be left behind again, they really have to be able to participate in this value chain of these new technologies. How is this structure, this value chain of critical energy transition minerals? Well, they are very concentrated. They are more concentrated than, for example, the crude oil market. You see top 3 exporters of nickel, graphite, lithium, cobalt, for example, they are from 40 to for almost 95% of the share of the total exports. And these markets are also very concentrated in the importer side as well. So a lot of the imports goes to fewer countries. And if we look at the value chain of electric vehicles value chain, these are the flows of trade of elements based on cobalt and cobalt related elements, so battery material, cells, components, and so on. And you see that how this value chain is very much concentrated, what we call upstream in terms of the extraction and processing of these minerals. What we see also very recently is that this increase of number of agreements between countries that are related to critical energy transition minerals. We see some of these numbers here that has been increasing from, we have been collecting these agreements, and you see from 1 to 5 to 11 to 22 last year and so on. And what we see is that many of these agreements that are related to developed countries in agreement with a developing country, usually these agreements, they focus mainly, main goal on access to these critical energy transition minerals. So it's important that these agreements also include as an important goal the diversification, value addition, diversification of these economies using these critical energy transition minerals. So exactly that is the way to forward. So how to avoid commodity dependence, economic diversification. And we think about value addition. We think, for example, this is the value chain that we can imagine here, value chain that goes from minerals to batteries for electric vehicles. And then you can think about the extraction and adding value by beneficiation, and then adding value by moving to the next product of this value chain, that the precursors of batteries and batteries material and so on. But beyond thinking about mining, we believe we have to think beyond mining. What we are talking about is the transformation of the economy. So we have to think about this value chain as an opportunity to diversify in several other value chains, starting other value chains. So from mining, you go to chemicals. From chemicals, you get the fertilizers that goes to agro-food chain and so on. So you have all these linkages and interlinkages between these sectors. So that's why it's important that moving forward at the national level, we think at that as an opportunity for structural transformation. So we have to think beyond mining, beyond beneficiation only, and have a national strategy and related policies that link industrial policy with trade, investment, environment, technology, skills, infrastructure, finance. So much bigger than only an issue of mining and minerals. At the regional level, you will see that already exists in the Africa mining vision, and that could be supported, as mentioned, by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, where we have countries being part of these supply chains and value chains that are not only start and stop in the country, but can be related to many other countries of the region. And at the global level, we have several forums where we can discuss principles, implementation frameworks to move in the direction of developing countries benefiting this time from this boom in commodities. And in terms of trade-related aspects, we have discussions here at the UNCTAD Trade and Development Commission. We just had last month the discussions on and first resolutions related to that. And the UN system as a whole, the United Nations Secretary General has two initiatives that are very much supporting on this area: the Interagency Working Group on Extractive Industries and the panel of the UNSG on critical energy transition minerals that was mentioned before. Well, it was a very quick summary to set the stage. Thank you very much for your attention. I really look forward for the discussions.
Thank you very much, Clovis. I'm glad Clovis also highlighted the structural transformation, which is the essence of industrialization. And the way to achieve structural transformation is to move up the value chain, and instead of remaining at the bottom of the chain as exporters of raw material. That's why we are highlighting the value addition. I'm sorry, I keep repeating value addition because that should be, I think, our focus. I would now like to invite the panel members to come and join me here, please, Excellencies. Meanwhile, I would like to acknowledge the presence among us here of His Excellency Honorable Gavramascal Chala Motalo. Excellency, welcome, and I'm so glad you found the time to come and join us. That's really great. Thank you. Now, thank you very much. Now, the good news, there's good and bad news. The good news is we're going to have really excellent discussion. The bad news is time-wise, we don't have much time. So I'm going to be very rude and give you only 3 minutes initially, because I want to come back and have a second round of questions. And also, if possible, afterwards, it would be good to hear from the participants with questions. So let me start with you, Excellency, Mrs. Rose Sakala, Ambassador of Republic of Zambia. Zambia, as we all know, is an exporter of copper. And in fact, at one point, Zambia was the third largest exporter of copper and has been exporting now for nearly a century, a long time. So my question to you, Excellency, is that what steps has Zambia government taken to increase value addition within Zambia instead of exporting raw material?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Let me start by thanking UNCTAD for inviting us and congratulating them for the 60 years. You are our twins. We are also turning 60 years as Zambia this year. What have we done so far as Zambia? We have looked at policy and the regulatory framework. In this regard, we have a Mines and Minerals Development Act. This legislation includes provisions to encourage value addition activities within Zambia. It provides incentives for companies that engage in processing and refining minerals locally. According to this act, the holder of a mining license for large scale, be it small scale, may construct and operate a mineral processing plant within the licensed area without a mineral processing license. Under the same policy and regulatory framework, we have a national industrial policy. This policy aims to diversify Zambia's economy by promoting industrialization, including the development of local processing industries. We also have incentives for investors, tax incentives. We have what we call Moses. This is not the Bible, it's a shortcut of the Mineral Output Statistical Evaluation System. This captures a code that shows whether it's an ore or a concentrate that's being exported. And if it's ore unprocessed, it will attract more tax charges from what we call ZRA. This is our Zambia Revenue Authority that collects tax. This therefore is meant to encourage the processing of ore within Zambia. That's why the tax is high if you are exporting ore. The government also offers tax breaks and incentives to companies that invest in local smelting and refining facilities. This includes exemptions on import duties for equipment and machinery used in processing. So if you are smelting locally and refining locally, then you are exempted from tax, paying tax on equipment and machinery that's used in processing. I'm deliberately a little bit slow. I hope I won't be over the 3 minutes because I just want to be maybe a little bit clearer. I know each time I'm fast in speaking, I'm never clear. We also have economic zones. We have established multi-facility economic zones where companies can benefit from various incentives to set up processing plants. And one of these is, if you browse the web, it's called Chambishi, and you get to know more about what's happening at Chambishi Multi-Facility Economic Zone. We are also into capacity building and skills development because you cannot do value addition if your people are not skilled or trained. So we have training programs. The government, often in collaboration with mining companies, has implemented training programs to develop local workforce skills in mineral processing and metallurgy. We are also into research and development. We support research institutions and partnerships with international organizations to advance local expertise in mineral beneficiation. In summary, I would say we have export restrictions also, implementing measures that discourage the export of unprocessed copper by introducing copper export taxes or restrictions on raw copper exports. This makes it more economically viable for companies to process copper locally before exporting. Additionally, lowering the cost of production so as to ensure that there is a ready market for affordable mineral products in Zambia. I'll go on to talk about environmental and social governance. Under the Mines and Minerals Act again, an environmental project brief is approved and required to commence operations, ensuring that value addition processes comply with the environmental regulations to mitigate negative impacts. This includes promoting sustainable practices in copper processing and refining, green mining, and processing. I'm about to conclude, so don't get discouraged. These interventions demonstrate Zambia's commitment in enhancing value addition on mineral resources for economic development. By adding value to its copper, Zambia aims to have more economic benefits domestically, create jobs, and foster industrial growth. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency. Thank you, in fact, for highlighting all these reforms and regulatory mechanisms, incentives, and setting up economic zones, and then discouraging export unless copper is processed. I think this is the way to start encouraging value addition. And I'll come back to ask you more in terms of how this enabling environment could help in the context of the AFCFTA. I'll beg your indulgence now. I understand His Excellency the Minister would have to leave, so I'll give him the floor to say a few words before he leaves. You have the floor, Excellency.
Good afternoon. I'm very grateful to be with you in this 16 years of UNCTAD establishment. Recently, we are working with UNCTAD And that's why I am here to have some time with you. Since I am here just to say a few words about Ethiopia status in different international common market or free trade area platform. Recently, we are officially deposited our goods offer in AFCFTA platform, and it is, as you know, as most of you know, it is already approved by AU summit, and we are in the process of starting guided trade initiative with 2 or 3 countries, like other countries already started, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, and so on. We are also in the process of, getting, a member for WTO. Recently, we are working on that, and we'll have a 5th working party meeting in Geneva, maybe after a month. And we agreed to finalize this WTO accession in the coming 2 years also. So these platforms are, for us, very important to be competent in the world market, and we see this as an opportunity for our economic development. And finally, Ethiopia, as you know, endowed with a lot of minerals, gold, metals, copper, oil, and so on. So some of our minerals are under business, some are under feasibility studies, some are under, assessment. So in that case, the Ethiopian government gave due attention for the minerals. That's why we have independent ministry for mines. So in that case, a lot of international investors are coming to Ethiopia and looking for exploration and so on. So I use also this opportunity to invite you, all Africans, all different delegates from different parts of the world. We have a conducive environment for mining, for investment, for any development. By the way, recently we are opening up our economy also in wholesale and retail, especially in hyper and the supermarkets. As you know, our economy was totally closed for the last 40 years. So nowadays we are opening up our economy. Import-export is also one of the activity we are going to open. So take this opportunity and please play your key role. And we as Ministry of Trade and Regional Integration are, willing and very keen to support and guide you and facilitate your investment endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for briefing us. Thank you. Now, let me turn to Dr. Marit Getau, who's Interim Director, the Africa Mining Development Center. And my question to you will revolve around the Africa Mining Vision, adopted, I understand, 2009. And also there is Africa Green Mineral Strategy. So my question is on the strategy, will this strategy enable African countries to achieve the vision?
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to join others in congratulating UNCTAD for its 60th anniversary. And thank you very much for having invited us to this very critical event called On Critical Minerals. The Africa Mining Vision, it was 15 years ago that it was adopted. It's a teenager now, 2009. There was another commodities boom back then. It was not critical minerals, but there was boom in other minerals. And at that time, it was the realization that Africa was not benefiting from its mineral resources that this vision was developed. So even back in the days, the AMV, really its added value, so to speak, was about the linkages part. It really emphasized that mining has to be value added, value retained on the continent has to be through industrialization. Otherwise, if we export raw materials, you export jobs, you export skills, you export, and even if it comes back to you as taxes, there's illicit financial flows. You've heard the numbers, 89 billion going out from illicit financial flows. There's tax holidays, tax issues that doesn't really come, even through the revenue schemes that are needed. So basically, the Africa Mining Vision was mostly, of course, it looks at minerals from the whole value chain, starting from policies, regulatory frameworks, geological information systems. It looks at artisanal small-scale mining, very prevalent in Africa, as you know. It looks at the environmental impact and capacity building throughout the whole value chain, including governance, governance with a big G, including inclusion of women, youth, etc. But the biggest added value of the AMV is about the value addition and the linkages. And how that does link with the Africa Green Mineral Strategy. First of all, it's clear that we have those critical, we call them green. Why we call them green? Because the definitions vary from jurisdictions. It is in the eye of the beholder. It's critical because of the vulnerability of supply and also for the defense industries for others. For us, we use them as inputs to the green industry and to our industrialization. So lithium, graphite, cobalt, manganese, graphite are among us, but we also added titanium, for example, because it's good for our hydro, and phosphates because it's a food security. You use it for fertilizers. We also added some, for instance, iron and steel, bauxite, because for us, for Africa, we have our own set of green strategy. So how does that, it's very much on value addition. This whole Africa Green Mineral Strategy revolves around value addition, not just as a pipe dream, because as you know, we can say value addition, industrialization, but do we have the right skills? Do we have the capital? Do we have the energy? Do we have the infrastructure? And most of all, do we have the capital? So it looks at it not as a pipe dream, but very, very much as with inputs that what does it take, for instance, for cobalt to go to the refinery? What does it take? And how do we acquire it? Because technology, as you know, doesn't get transferred automatically. You really have to have policies. And when we talk about this whole value addition, we have to think about the upstream linkages, meaning that you create jobs because around the mines, not just because of the mining engineers and stuff, but also the procurement. Local content policy is essential. So do we have that in the policies? So we have a framework, it's called the African Minerals Governance Framework, and we look at how are these countries faring on all these, and we give them. Zambia was our latest one. By the way, we'd like to thank Zambia for having ratified the statutes of the African Minerals Development Center. And we do that, we evaluate, we assess. It's not judging, but it's just that, are you reinventing in the productive sector, for example? The proceeds from the mineral sector are back to the economy. Otherwise, you keep exporting everything else, as we say. So but just to say that, it's very much relevant, and it's not, as somebody was saying, it's time for action. It's not just pipe dream theory that we're talking about action-oriented and with a plan.
Thank you very much. Actually, it's not only relevant, it's timely, because as part of the AFCFTA, the main encouragement now is on regional value chains, so hopefully through regional value chains we can add value. Before I move to my next guest, let me recognize the presence with us here, His Excellency Honorable Yesrun Alamayo Ade. He's the Minister of Innovation and Technology. Welcome, Excellency. Now, let me turn to Ato Theodros Zintayo. Yes. He's the President of Mineral Exporters Association of Ethiopia. And my question actually revolves around this country's export of minerals. We understand that in 2021, nearly $500 million worth of minerals have been exported, mainly gold. Now, my question is, are there any concrete measures being taken by either your association or the government to boost export earnings from mining? If you could answer that in 3 minutes, they will make me happy.
Okay. Thank you very much. From critical minerals to, I'm going to take you to gemstones. I'm going to talk about my association. It is EGGA, Ethiopian Gemstone and Jewelry Manufacturers, Suppliers and Exporters Association. So I'm just going to give you some insight based on what has been done in this area here in Ethiopia. Over a decade ago, Ethiopia was not in the map of gemstone producing countries, whether in the continent or globally. Now, Ethiopia has become one of the major producers of gemstones over the years. And that has attracted local small to medium businesses to join the sector, the industry, the gem and jewelry business. But mainly, those businesses are focusing on raw gemstone exports. Very few are doing some kind of value addition, just to mention. Following that, time has come to form our association. So it was formed back in September 2023. And then the association has played a pivotal role in lobbying and, telling, the importance of value addition and then the resource potential we have as a nation, and then how we can benefit from these resources, both for government bodies and the business community. It has played a pivotal role in lobbying and influencing stakeholders on opportunities and benefits of value addition. So as a result of this, Ministry of Mines, as directly concerned Ministry for the mineral sector, they came on board and shown a commitment and keen interest to work with our association. And now the Ministry of Mines has developed and launched a 5-year strategic plan for the first time. It's a comprehensive strategic plan. It's never been there. So that's one big step forward for the country and the industry. And along that, national standard and grading guidelines have been developing. It's also in the final stage. So EGGA, our association, has been a close partner with the Ministry of Mines and the business community in developing both the strategic plan and the guidelines. In the meantime, we've been also engaged in training our own members in various areas, in capacity building, gem identification, grading, and lapidary. Lapidary is, how you cut and polish stones. So we've been very active since our inception, and we have achieved so much thus far. So we're waiting now. It's in the next few months, it's expected that the implementation of this strategic plan will be on the floor. And we believe that we're going to see the benefit of value addition in multifaceted ways. It's gonna create quite a lot of jobs. As you may know, the gem and jewelry industry is labor intensive, and it is going to generate the highly needed export earnings as well. So this is just to give you some perspective about our association and businesses related to the gem and jewelry in Ethiopia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think this is a very important point because we always think it's only governments that have to intervene to encourage value addition, but you are actually informing us that even associations like yours are doing their best to add value. Now, let me quickly go to give the floor to Mr. Ricardo Mosca, who is the deputy head delegation of the EU to Africa Union. And Excellency, my question revolves around this very ambitious and interesting target by EU, net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. And achieving that obviously is going to require using a lot of critical minerals, including from Africa. Unfortunately, extracting these minerals before even we add value is going to involve a lot of pollution, as you know. Now, as a traditional development partner, how can the EU assist African countries take advantage of these critical minerals and add value, but without, in the process, creating environmental damage? Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. And thank you for inviting the European Union to this discussion, critical discussion on critical material. Let me start by saying that I was happy to hear that in Ethiopia I found important sources of gemstones. I think that is a very good news, and to hear about the association, and may this go to the benefit and to the prosperity of the country indeed. On the question on how the European Union can support sustainable extraction of the minerals, let me start by saying that while we need to increase the production of critical raw material globally because of the exponential rise of demand, we also must acknowledge that no country on its own can achieve the twin green and digital transition. So international cooperation is key. Access to secure, diversified, affordable, and sustainable supply of critical raw material is not only a key priority for the European Union, it is a global challenge, and which countries should tackle all together. In fact, the challenge faced by governments, industries and societies are normally threefold, what I would say. Many countries want to diversify and secure their sourcing of critical raw material to reduce their over-dependence on a single or every few supplier. At the same time, producing countries want to add value locally, raw material, by developing local processing and refining industry. If I find a gold mine in my garden, I would rather be the one extracting refining and exporting the gold that I'm lucky enough to find in my garden. But in case I do not have the capacities, maybe I'm not an expert, definitely I would ask others to help me in this extraction and refining and exportation. But my reference is the fact that ownership is very important. I mean, and I think that it's very important that those countries that are lucky enough to have natural resources can be the full owners of these resources. That is very important. Then the third challenge is, speaking about your question, the moderator, is concerns the need for mining, processing, recycling to be made sustainable and respect high environmental, social and governance standards. That is very important. The increased supply of raw material must be achieved in such a way that negative impacts on the environment are minimized. Not only in the environment, but also the labor rights and standards that must be respected. So to address these challenges, global in nature, European Commission President von der Leyen back in 2003 announced the creation of a critical raw material club to allow the European Union to address these policy challenges together with the partners. And in April this year, the Mineral Security Partnership was formally launched and set the basis for strengthening the cooperation and outreach to resources-rich countries. So MSP takes on board and implements the objective of the CRM Club and engaging members in a policy dialogue to address together the challenge of a secure, sustainable supply of critical raw materials for green and digital transition, and to assist resource-rich countries in their ambition to industrialize, building on those assets. So the European Union and the United States will co-chair this new MSF forum. The MSP forum will conduct its work through two pillars: the policy dialogue, which will address key critical raw material policy issues, from how to promote sustainable public-private investment and local value addition in producing countries using best available technologies, to fostering application of high environmental, social and governmental standards in mining, extraction and processing, to trade aspect and related pricing issues. And there is also the project group, as the MSP forum will use a variety of voluntary mechanisms to assist producing countries in attracting investment and advancing and accelerating projects. This may include project information sharing, presentation of CRM opportunities, technical assistance to support policy reform, geopolitical survey and mapping requests. So for the moment, I stop here and we go to the next question if you want.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad also you highlighted the importance of international cooperation. Climate change is a common good, a common concern, and extracting these critical minerals in a very sustainable way is also, should be a common concern. Now, we have someone joining us virtually, Professor Arte Kaniki. Is he joining? He's from University of Lubumbashi in Democratic Republic of Congo. Can he can hear? Okay. So the question I have for you is, it's really well known that Democratic Republic of Congo is rich in minerals, the type of minerals that countries need for energy transition, green transition. My question is, again, similar to the other questions. Has the DRC taken measures to maximize the benefits from these minerals through local processing and value addition? You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. I thank UNCTAD for this opportunity to participate in this event. The DRC is concerned with putting in place a system that allows it to maximize income linked to the exploitation of metals necessary for the energy transition. This is seen through speeches, but also through projects such as the establishment of a special economic zone for batteries. A special economic zone for batteries in the DRC must act as a hub for technology transfer and innovation. It must attract industries operating on the battery value chain and facilitate technology transfer to promote sustainable industrial growth. It should allow the DRC, Zambia, and the countries in the region to be present on the market for batteries produced from the raw materials. The projects to establish the special economic zone for batteries in DRC is still the pre-feasibility study stage. The DRC must develop its capability to process and refine critical minerals and the metals locally. Much effort has been made to put an end to the export of mining products in the raw states. However, additional effort must be made to also end the export of concentrates. To date, many companies continue to export critical minerals and metals in the form of concentrates without significant added value. This situation locks the country into the lower parts of global value chain and limits its economic benefits and its negotiating capacity. The DRC must now invest in the development of processing and refining facilities. This will allow it to make higher value products such as batteries and magnets, which are in high demand for renewable energy technologies. The strategy that is already operational is the ban of the export of minerals in the raw state. In the DRC, it's not authorized to export ore. They must be processed before exporting them. To conclude, I can say that the DRC is aware of the fact that a strategy is needed to maximize the income linked to the exploitation of the metals necessary for the energy transition. Unfortunately, the implementation of these strategies is dragging. That's what I can say for the moment. I thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for informing us this very interesting development, special economic zones for batteries, and I guess that will create a potential for other countries in that region, like Zambia, could also collaborate and have regional value chains developing from that. Now we have among us, we're fortunate to have the ambassador of Republic of Botswana, His Excellency Mr. Tobelelo Boyang. I hope I got it right there. He is going to share with us his perspective, and which is really a good idea because Botswana is one of the African countries that have done a lot in terms of really strategizing, adding value. So I think Botswana's experience will be highly relevant. Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, moderator. At this late hour, let me just say all protocols have been observed. I have been requested by the moderator and the UNCTAD just to share Botswana's experiences and what perhaps we think can be of value to other fellow African countries in terms of the management of the resources themselves and the revenues or the wealth that comes out of it. I think a key to our success, if you may call it that. We are people who are always very moderate, and I wouldn't want to be seen to be sort of like a little bread. But I think which was key was that right after independence, when the minerals were discovered, we adopted a policy that all natural resources found within the territory of the Republic of Botswana belongs to everyone. They would not be committed to one region or solely be claimed to belong to that region alone. And critical to this was the putting in place a robust governance system, that is a legal framework, policies that will ensure that there was transparency, sustainability, and of course, equitable distribution of benefits from the mineral resources. This was pretty much key. You will note that there is what is called the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, which underscores or calls for open and accountable management of natural resources. Botswana remains still committed to the EITI because we believe that through this we can really manage our resources very well for the benefit of all. And through this, the revenues that have been derived specifically from diamonds have been critical in the development of infrastructure, the education, health, and social services. This, you will note, that also contributes to what's economic growth. But once we have achieved this and there's a level and a modicum of feeling amongst the population that the natural resources are for their benefit, it also enhances inclusive development and improving overall living standards of the population. We will be the first to acknowledge that given all the experience that we've had as developing countries, it has been a bit of a challenge for us also in terms of diversification. But we remain committed at the highest level, and out of the realization that without a diversified economic base, export base, this will not assist us, and we continue to look for partnerships and come up with policies that are specifically geared towards local processing and beneficiation of minerals. We are also on an intensive mapping and of course exploration throughout the country to look for further minerals. Prospects look very good, especially with minerals such as manganese. But it will also be important that while we do this, the governance structures remain in place and you have the sense of inclusion, a sense of sustainable development, as well as respect for the environment. We believe that if we can do more value addition, this will create jobs and foster industrial development, which is very critical, especially for us in the Southern African Development Community and the AFCFTA as a whole. I have already emphasized the importance of respecting the environment in the mining sector. So these are issues that are in the legislative framework. You have to have a thorough environmental assessment impact study before you can continue with the mining. Another key aspect of the governance in terms of management of resources and ensuring that they can be of benefit to the population is a closer engagement of the communities. We have really taken a deliberate decision to ensure that through what we call corporate social responsibility and other measures, the communities that are around the mining areas can also feel that they are part and parcel of what comes of the benefits of our mineral wealth. I think most crucial for us has been the building of partnerships, both within Africa and outside of Africa, because such partnerships has led to us having access to technology, investment and expertise, and investing in research and development has also led to innovative mining techniques and exploration of alternative uses of critical minerals. But as I said, we believe that the advent of the AFCFTA really creates a valuable platform for us as Africans to do more intra-African trade exchange experiences. As we have said, we will remain ready to share such experiences that have led us to where we find Botswana to be today. I thank you, Moderator.
Thank you very much, Excellencies. This is really excellent for other African countries to learn from. And very quickly, let me go through the lessons you have identified. In the transparent governance structure, which is really very important if we're going to avoid the resource curse problem, inclusive approach to exploitation of these minerals, very important. Commitment from the beginning to diversification. Local processing, you have given importance from the start, respecting the environment when extracting these minerals, and also building partnership. These are very important lessons for other African countries. Thank you very much, Excellency. Now, I will give the last word to our panel members, but before that, since time is really going, let me see if we can have one or two questions on the floor, and then I will blend it with giving the last word to our members. Okay, let me spread it a bit. I'll start with you, and then one back, and then I come back to you.
All right, thank you very much.
If you have a specific question to a panelist, you better say to whom the question is directed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tafara. Good afternoon to all of you. My question goes to ambassadors, Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Zambia and the Ambassador of Botswana, especially looking at the aspect of sustainable mineral resource development. We are looking at those countries that can be pioneers in leading the continent into new horizon. Looking at, both of you talk about incentivizing new investment to add value into the minerals in your respective countries. And we always look at how the indigenous companies are also benefiting from those incentives that are being introduced. It could have been better to also encourage national companies to develop their skills and also learn from the technologies that the multinational corporation has. Any successful example that we can replicate or advocate for in other countries. I did not introduce my name. I'm John Magok. I also work for the African Union Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Another quick question at the back.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. So I'm just asking a simple question for the ambassadors and those who are on the higher positions. So if we're talking about the resource minerals, we don't have to leave the role of uses on the future of the minerals, because uses are the next generation who take over everything from the African continent. So how can we use our benefited from those things? Because the tax collected from the minerals and the extraction system, the exposure, the activity right there, how users are included on that and how they get exposure from that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. My name is Lamin from the Gambia Embassy. First, you have all highlighted the challenge of value addition and also the issue of capacity development for value addition, the requisite capacity that is needed to undertake value addition. And you've also highlighted the importance of partnerships and international cooperation in achieving value addition. But one of the issues also on the continent affecting the flow of raw mineral resources is the issue of illicit mining of critical mineral resources and their outflow out of the continent. So, but I've not heard anybody addressing that phenomenon. How much of a challenge is that in terms of leveraging the demand for critical mineral resources for the continent? It is anybody who can take it, but particularly Dr. Kitao, if you can answer that one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So for the first question, Excellency, I'll come to you. The Ambassador, Republic of Zambia, the issue raising about incentivizing new investment, mainly targeted at foreign investment. How about local investors? Would you like to address that?
Thank you for the question. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. That's an area which we are actually addressing. In my presentation, when I was talking about the Minerals Development Act, it was both for large scale and small scale. Small scale, mainly those are Zambians. And what we are doing now is we are looking also at the illegal mining that's going on in the country. Because what's happening is the illegal miners are doing so out of poverty. They don't have the equipment that they require, that's required to actually carry out a profitable mining exercise. So what we are doing now in Zambia is to formalize the illegal miners, the illegal mining. So there's no more illegal mining where they smuggle things, smuggle minerals, and usually these are done in conjunction with foreign entities who have got a better market outside the country and make more money out of it. So it has been decided through the Mining Act that the illegal mining will be no more. We are going to formalize it. We have already actually formalized it through the Act. So both local entities and foreign entities are covered when we are talking about the conditions that come with the Mining Act. It's not just for foreign investors, it's for our own local persons as well. So I hope I've answered your question. If I haven't, please just come back to me.
Thank you, Excellency. The same question now forwarded to His Excellency Ambassador of the Republic of Botswana. He could also actually add the second one, which is on how to maximize the benefits through taxation, because Botswana's example is really relevant here. Please, yeah. Push it up. Yeah, that's it. Working.
Thank you very much, moderator, and let me also thank Dr. Tok and our other comrade who asked these questions. From our perspective, I think we are, as you would be aware, we are also core members, fellow members of the Southern African Development Community with the Republic of Zambia, and as the moderator have said, we really have vast experience in the mineral sector. What we have done was also to look at the corporate tax. We have incentives that really any investor should be able to salivate at. The legal framework also protects you to repatriate your profits. My words, profits, because what we are looking for is foreign direct investment, and for our people to be able to benefit from what we call technological exchanges, and as well sustainable investment. So those are the legal frameworks that are there. Your investment, you are certain that within the legal framework, your investment is well protected. Locally, we are also have been encouraging more investment. At times, one has to go through the state route. We currently have the Okavango Diamond Company, which we set up so that we are not just wholly dependent on the partnerships that we have. We have also, for local beneficiation and benefit, made sure that we really have a much more improved contract or partnership agreement with the partners that we work with, specifically in the diamond industry. So I think those are efforts that we have deliberately embarked on to try and have more local beneficiation, while at the same time ensuring that as an investor, you are also protected, because you don't just invest for charity. It's a risk that you take, but it has to be protected within the legal framework of the Republic of Botswana.
Thank you very much. I think that's really great. The last question was actually directed to Dr. Kitao. Would you like to have a go with that?
Yes, thank you very much. If I may, the first question was about incentivizing local investors, African investors. So if I may, the African Minerals Development Center, we do have AMREC, which is the African Minerals Energy Classification, which classifies minerals according to reserves. And we have the Pan-African Reporting Code that enables to have the real value of the minerals, and then so that you can leverage the capital markets, African capital markets, because at the end of the day, why we don't have local investors is because of capital, because it's very capital intensive, and most local investors and African investors do not have the luxury of the capital to invest. So we are working on that front at the African Minerals Development Center, which, by the way, is a specialized agency of the African Union. We still need ratification, so we are still under the African Union division currently. There was the question on the why the illegal, I think Her Excellency from Zambia answered some of it. We also advocate for formalization of the artisanal small-scale mining so that it's controlled to avoid the illicit flow of the smuggling, so to speak, because most of the time it's because of the artisanal small-scale miners that is done in a way that is informal, that is done. But we are also, because we try to be very practical, we know that there is a reason why they are informal. Sometimes you need some financial inclusion, especially for women. So we currently consulting on a strategy on artisanal small-scale mining for Africa. It's a very difficult, as you know. They are informal for a reason. Sometimes, you know, they can be, during daytime, they can be farmers, and then during another day, they can be ASM miners. So it's a very tough area. We still are looking for best practices on that front, but we are consulting to have a strategy. And formalization is one, cooperatives, so that we can also incentivize, provide some financial incentives as well, microfinancing, etc. So we have a whole section working on artisanal small-scale mining. And just to address, since you have on the international cooperation, which I found very good from the EU, we do appreciate that, you know, European Union is collaborating with the AMDC on a number of issues. And I'm particularly proud to be in the panel of the UN Secretary General on critical energy transition minerals representing the African Union. And that forum, we really have discussions that are, you know, relevant, because we always say, you know, mistakes of the past, but how about the framing of the whole issue. So value addition is at the core. We acknowledge the bottlenecks and the challenges, but we have also the means, and we are very encouraged by the DRC and the Zambia special economic zones. We have the data by Bloomberg that it can be done. There's cost and emissions advantage of having a precursor plant in the DRC. Why not go beyond the precursor and go to the electric vehicle? We need to create the demand, all the challenges that we say, but I think commitment is one, international cooperation, and also leveraging on regional communities like SADC. If there is a plant in DRC, Mozambique has graphite, so they can just, and you know, in this African Green Mineral Strategy, we advocate for an African local content so that there's also free movement of people. But that's a discussion for another day. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for highlighting these points. Actually, the AFCFTA is much more than a trade agenda. It's an industrialization agenda. And regional value chain is going to be critical. So I think this is one area where the FCFTA is going to be very important. Now, Tedros, I'll give you the floor very quickly. to react to some of these questions, especially in terms of the incentives provided. Does they focus mainly on foreign partners or also local potential value-adding enterprise also get an opportunity from your experience?
So to speak about, the gemstone and jewelry, it is a new industry for Ethiopia, and it's been meant only for locals. So far, it's not open for other big investors, from mining to export, actually. So there is incentive for value addition. For those who are into value addition, they can import their machineries and tools duty-free. And there is also a tax holiday for serious companies who want to do value addition. So value addition is very much acknowledged. It's been really, bad the past, many years, but now it looks the government is focusing on value addition, and they have understood the opportunity on doing value addition by way of, it is going to create quite a lot of job opportunity. And then, of course, it is very not complicated, not complex to do value addition on gemstones. The machinery it uses, very simple, inexpensive, and the skill can be acquired in a very short and intensive training. As you know, we have, trainable labor, and then the two main inputs for the industry are trainable labor, the skilled labor, and the raw material. So the investment on capital goods is not, that big. So it's doable within the in-house capacity. I think that's what is going to happen in the next few years and here in Ethiopia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think there are a lot of lessons Ethiopia can learn from other African countries, particularly Botswana in this area. I'll give the last word to Mr. Mosca. EU has been mentioned, potential partnership, so I'll give you last word to react on some of these questions.
Well, thank you very much. No, indeed, as I said before, we do believe that the the solution can only be by joining the arms and joining brains and joining ideas all together. The fact that certain areas of the world have a concentration of raw material and doesn't mean that it means that this value has to be shared amongst everybody, the population, and in a balanced way. And the European Union stands firm in cooperation and providing all its support and help with those countries that are in need. And the recent act that has been signed, and the different also initiatives taken by the European Commission and by von der Leyen in 23, approving that. So we stand ready to support.
Thank you very much. In terms of time, we've just gone over 10 minutes. That's not bad. So I think we should try to wrap up here. I thought I finished with UNCTAD after working 29 years in that organization, but obviously I'm not escaping. And thank you very much, Diane, again for inviting me. So I'll give you the floor to close the meeting.
Excellency Minister of Technology, Excellency Ambassadors, dear virtual participants, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I would like first of all to thank you all for accepting our invitation and actively participating in this session where we celebrated UNCTAD 60th anniversary, and at the same time we are reflecting on the role of critical energy transition minerals in Africa's development. Allow me to sincerely express my appreciation and thanks to the panelists for sharing their thoughts on this theme. The global demand for critical minerals is growing rapidly to meet clean energy and decarbonization objectives. Therefore, there is a need as a continent to plan accordingly, because mining companies are rushing to invest in exploration, and we have to make sure that this is being done in an inclusive and sustainable way. We commend efforts being done by African Union Commission, the Economic Commission for Africa, and other partners in the development of the African Green Minerals Strategy. Indeed, mining policies, strategies, as well as regulations must reflect opportunities and challenges of meeting global demand in the critical minerals. I also want to thank the youth for joining today's session. Actually, when they came in, one of them told me that she wants to take my position. So the future is in your hand, and it is very important to engage them by joining our efforts. That's how we can deliver on this challenge and many other development issues, and making intergeneration action work. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, UNCTAD has a 6-year legacy of supporting developing countries to access the benefits of global trade and advocating for a fair global economy. We remain very much committed to join stakeholders' efforts and assisting countries to take advantage of the growing demand of the critical transition minerals. From discussions held this afternoon, there are like some areas where we really need to coordinate all our efforts. And those areas include the establishment of a regulatory framework to make sure that local populations fully benefit from the mining activities, the capacity building along the mining value chain, the value addition. Each one of the speakers, they have been talking about the value addition and developing the local processing industries. Last but not least, the access to the market, not only the market out of the continent, but also to add value to African minerals and to export to African countries. So this will be easier because of the IFCFTA. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for your contribution in each and every milestone UNCTAD has registered for the past 6 years. As of today, 40 African countries are using UNCTAD customs automation system. Many others are using our tools to improve their productive capacity or our debt management system. All of these were achieved because of the involvement of your respective governments. We are looking forward to strengthening our collaboration with you all in the coming years, either as beneficiaries or as development partners. We are looking forward to work with each one of you. As I conclude, my special gratitude goes to the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia for hosting us in this beautiful country and for facilitating our everyday activities. I thank you so much once again, And I would like to invite Excellency ambassadors who are still present here for a group photo. The moderator is going to assist us for the group photo. And also we have an anniversary cake to celebrate our 60 years anniversary. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. 60 years ago, in the UN system, an organization was created called UNCTAD by developing countries for developing countries. So it's a pleasure to celebrate the 60th anniversary. Panelists, Excellency, the State Minister, if you could join us.